Amazing audience, we are live. Amazing audience, we are live. Today is day 49 of our 84-day trip, my friend.
Wow, that's great.
Welcome to our hotel.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's a little noisy, but beautiful.
Yeah. I just met Sam Salwei. My apologies.
Yeah.
Sam, it's a great pleasure to connect with you.
Good to meet you too.
Well, I have a few questions to ask you. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
If you had to sum up your talents, which of your talents do you think is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Whoa. Well, I guess one of my talents would be traveling, since I travel pretty much exclusively for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
We're usually somewhere different every 3 days, so I would say that kind of brought us here. And then I work in the outdoor industry, and I'm on my way to a meeting, and this place was the closest place to that meeting that we could sleep without getting hassled, so that's why I met you.
Yeah. So who did you learn the skills of traveling and living on the road from?
I would say myself, because I started traveling before the internet was a thing.
You did maps.
Yeah. Yep. Paper maps. Exactly. No, but honestly, my mother, when I was 6, we moved from North Dakota, so the middle of the United States, all the way down to Miami, Florida.
Ooh.
And so that was a 3,000-mile road trip at a very impressionable age, I think. So that kind of stuck with me, and the way I went is I went to college, and then shortly after started rock climbing. So I'd travel to climb, and then eventually I just stayed out instead of coming back.
That's amazing. So you were on the outside of us, right?
Yeah.
Taking pictures. And he wasn't wearing a t-shirt. So I was telling Amanda, my wife, right? I was telling her, I was like, this guy is really strong. Like I go to the gym and I see strong people, but this guy, he's really strong. Didn't I say that? Yeah,
nice.
I could see it.
Yeah,
structure.
That's leftover from rock climbing. Yeah,
I would think so.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I really call myself a rock climber.
Yeah.
But we've gotten into acrobatics and slacklining, which are also very healthy activities. So it keeps you tuned up, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. Why will you continue to be that guy that travels and lives on the road, lives on the... It's definitely a challenge, right? From my experience. Why will you continue to be that guy?
Well, I would say life is a challenge. So any path you choose, you're going to have challenges. And I enjoy the change of scenery constantly, and really enjoy meeting people like yourself all over the world. So... it makes the world really small, and realize that we're all the same, right? And there's no real need for borders or anything like that. It's just made up things so we can better understand. We need to put things in boxes, but we don't really need to do that anymore. I think we've evolved to a point where we can all realize that we're just trying to be happy, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I love that. Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Well, our company is Yoga Slackers, so that's a really good way to do it.
I like the name.
Yeah, so we teach yoga on a slackline.
Yeah.
So a slackline is like a tightrope, so it's walking between two trees usually.
Yeah. It's fun. Like I've seen some YouTube videos where people that tie up their 2 lines, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing all types of stuff.
Yesterday we were just doing one about 40 feet up in the air. We are attached to the line, so it's still safe, and it's definitely changes your perspective. It's something that you can do on the ground, really. Raquel does this as well. My girlfriend is over there. Come on, pop in.
It's like, video bomb!
Yeah!
That's good. So what's one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years?
Other than constantly moving. Slacklining is one of those things that's consistent throughout our life. We try to set one up every country we go to.
How does it make you feel?
Good. So what's interesting about a lot of activities is that, now I've spent a long time doing it, but it takes a minute to get into the zone. Like if you play basketball, you got to play basketball for a few years, really understand the game before you can kind of drop into where everything disappears.
Yeah.
What's great about the slackline is, regardless of your ability, if you have maybe half an hour of instruction so you have an understanding. Once you step on the slack line or sit on the slack line, it immediately brings you to that zone where everything melts away, because if you're not there, you fall off, right? So you get that taste of that zone, even if it's for a split second, but you get it. Whereas in other sports, you would have to kind of master the sport to let the world drop away around you and totally focus on one.
Yeah, I want to try it. Yeah, I'll definitely try it. Yeah, so. I'll take your contact. Or you'll need to slackline in Trinidad.
Yeah, I agree. It's on the list.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the list.
That's wonderful. Love it. Why would you suggest to someone that's listening that they do what you've done by itemizing life from the perspective of there are challenges and I am going to do this, and then you get it done?
Yeah. So to backtrack a little bit, what I've done is find something that I like to do and do that, right? So I wouldn't suggest anyone go live in a car. That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But what I would challenge...
It may be ridiculous for you. Yeah, let me help you with that. Yeah, but it isn't ridiculous for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what I would challenge you to do, if you're watching this, is kind of go back to that time where you maybe compromised to help someone else do something, and then you kind of got off your path, right? And you're like no longer doing what really makes you happy.
Yeah.
So I would look at how to circle back towards your path and not... Don't ignore people and not help them, but really try to help people that are near your path, right? So you're all working to go the direction that makes you who you are and makes you happy. So you're not trying to live somebody else's dreams, right?
I love that.
Because I think a lot of times society kind of forces us off, like, oh, you need to go to college, you need to do this. You don't need to do anything. You know, you need to be happy, and then that's going to create happiness for other people around you because you're happy yourself.
Yeah, so. I love that. All right, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me invite you now into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water.
Nice.
What is your earliest childhood memory?
Earliest childhood memory? That's a good question. I think it was getting trapped into a little shed. So I was playing with my friend Lisa. We went into a shed. I was probably 4 years old, and the wind was really blowing. The wind blew the door shut and the lock on the outside shut. So we were trapped in this little garden shed. I don't know how long, maybe a couple hours, but we had to like break the window out, and we're like throwing things out the window to try to get people's attention. It was just in somebody's backyard. So that would be my earliest memory.
Why do you think that memory is so clear?
Oh, maybe it's a little traumatic to be stuck in some place small and not be able to leave.
Yeah. How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
This is a really good point. It seems to connect really well in that I don't like to be anywhere very long anymore. Like I think I said earlier, the longest we spend in any one place is 3 days.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
That's
that correlates perfectly.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, usually I would say, well, let me give my interpretation, right? But I think it correlates perfectly. All right.
I'm doing your job for you.
All right, we've arrived. No, sorry. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Ooh. So I had a very interesting take on music all the way until I was about 17. Is that I was pretty introverted and I thought a lot, and if I listened to music it would get in the way of my thoughts, so I didn't listen to any music at all.
Oh, that's cool.
Especially anything with lyrics, because I had too much stuff going on and I didn't want other people's ideas clouding my focus.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was an interesting take.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Like with the podcast, it happens to me. Like I do not listen to things. I don't read things because it tends to get in the way. Cloud me. So instead of just having a conversation, those things would be. I thought I was the only person. Interesting fact though, like yesterday, I messaged a guy and told him that, because he was like, do you listen to my podcast?
Right.
I was like, no. So just interesting that would happen like this. Yeah. Anyway, we've reached our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no.
Okay.
We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I think so.
So
I'm not good with quick answers.
Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Not an individual.
Okay. Are you married?
Not yet.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Less than 8 hours a day.
If you, Sam, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Sam Salwei. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, got it, nailed it.
What would you say that is?
A personal one. We've got a lot of company ones, and those kind of come from my personal views. So I would say, live in balance, slack more.
Yeah, well, that adds up. Well, Sam, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I mean, your questions directed the conversation perfectly. It really is that just check in with what really matters to you and try to get back to that path.
Yeah, I love it. Sam, this was a great pleasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Engel Jones.
Thanks so much for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Boom!